there's a lot of frustration and struggle and a lot of trauma and some hurt that has happened. We're not fully Adventist enough because we're not LNG white, but we're not also Black enough because we're not a part of certain cultures and communities.
Our nation is still dealing with ongoing race-related challenges, and our church is participating in those conversations and doing something about it. So in today's episode, I sit down with my friend, Pastor Reggie, to talk about what it's like to be a Black Adventist.
So for me, I think one of the things that being a Black Seventh-day Adventist is really, it's a loaded question. So the Black part, right? I love it. I'm a proud Black African American. But the thing that is kind of wrestling that I wrestle with, and I have to do it because to be genuine to conversations that we're going to have later on, I have to be honest and say that I am a Seventh-day Adventist African American. Because I am a Seventh-day Adventist Christian African American, because we've warped the perception. My identity is found in Jesus Christ. So before I am Black, I am a follower of Jesus. I am a recipient of the Imago Dei. So with that in mind, I have to make sure to preface, as Black as I am, although my melanin is rich, my convictions and my relationship with Jesus Christ are at the forefront of everything that I do. I was blessed with growing up in a conference called Lake Region Conference, where it is a regional conference, which his primary goal is for those people who the Adventist Church originally in its original mission kind of left behind. So now we have the regional conference system. And so growing up in a regional conference, I went to church with Black people. I went to an elementary school with Black people. And it wasn't until high school that I really started to experience and have that connection with white people, Filipino people, and all these different things. And before I realized I was just a young kid, I was a young Seventh-day Adventist kid, had no preconceived notion that there was white and Black conferences and all these things. And we really did a great job. My parents did a great job of protecting me and isolating me and only knowing this safety bubble. And I realized that the reason why a lot of Black Adventist parents do that is to protect their kids from the pain that the church has propagated against us, the frustration we get at General Conference, the frustration we see when the unions would act and would make decisions. There was always a struggle for Black Adventist parents. And so although we love Adventism, we'll eat our haystacks, we'll go to camp meetings, we'll eat our pronto pups, we'll do all the cultural things, we'll drink our Martinellis. But the problem is there's a lot of disconnect. And so as a Black man, it is kind of this, I'm a part of a double minority. And then there's these confusion of, why are all the Black people segregated? And why are all the Black people by themselves? It's because we're a double minority in the world. We're the Seventh-day Adventists. Then we're Black. When a majority of African Americans and Black and brown people are of different faith groups. And so now we're even isolating ourselves and making our bubble even smaller. So there's a lot of frustration and struggle and a lot of trauma and some hurt that has happened. We're not fully Adventist enough because we're not LNG white, but we're not also Black enough because we're not a part of certain cultures and communities.
This frustration that Reggie feels is understandable. Adventism should be big enough and wide enough to include everyone, and intimate enough to make people feel seen and heard. But unfortunately, Reggie began to see even more division in our church as he grew up in our education system.
When I went to my white academy and got accepted and was brought in, and then I realized, whoa, what's going on here? Why is there a difference? Wait, this isn't Lake Region Conference. This is a different conference. Wait, why are there two different groups? Wait, all my Black friends go to one church, but wait, these new white friends and Filipino friends I have, they have a whole different culture and they have a whole different kind of Adventist view. You know, they're going to spending time with each other at their houses on a Saturday night, while all of the Black Adventist kids are going to CFL and playing basketball together in church league. So there's two different cultural things, and so there's that splitting of trying to figure out where I want to be. And then oftentimes there's a problem where it's like I have to pick my Blackness or the dominant culture that I'm in. It was high school. So for me, I didn't really start to see the differences until I actually became too far kind of lost in choosing a side. And this is the frustrating part. This is the mental gymnastics that you have to do when you're an Adventist. You have to take on the responsibility of knowing the truth and then watching your church not actually live up to it. And so as a Black man, there's no reason why black people were not allowed into Adventist hospitals to refuse treatment. There's no reason. And there should have never been a conversation about when Ellen White made the instruction of, hey, if this person has racist sentiments, they should be immediately disbanded from disfellowshipped from the church. Like, it should not have taken all of that because we claim to know the truth as a people group. The racial and cultural gymnastics and struggle that I encountered as a young black man in high school in Black America, and then also being Black Adventist America, it is absolutely not the fault of someone calling me the N-word. Now that, of course, happened.
Sure.
Happened a ton of times. Even when I went to Walla Walla, got called the N-word several times.
Wow.
Like, there's those things that happen. Those things will never be forgotten. But it's more of the seductive, hey, you're the cool black kid who plays basketball, or you hang out with all the basketball players, you're cool black too. And it's the inherent cultural kind of gentrification and taking of black culture, because a lot of times what we end up seeing, and this is from my personal experience, I watched all the kids in my academy want to be us.
These experiences are reoccurring and across the board for so many people in our church. Reggie's experiences and Garth's experiences are shared by many people of color within and even outside of our church. So what's the problem? Is our church asleep in the middle of all of this?
The Adventist church does a really good job of insulating our people. So then we forget about certain issues. We forget that, I can still get shot by the police, no matter how many degrees or how many times I've visited Andrews University, right? No matter how many Loma Linda links I have, I can still encounter being followed in the store. So it's kind of, we've insulated and we've almost acted as if this won't happen to you, and that because it's our community, our small little bubble, we're safe. But to me, me waking up to it was not a thing of me falling asleep, but it was the pushing of an agenda to almost strip our culture. And a lot of African American Adventists will tell you that it's easier when we are younger and we are vulnerable to assimilate and accept the dominant cultures of our academies and our schools than it is to, it's the path of least resistance. There's teachers who actively support agendas of white supremacy, and I'm not downplaying the importance of Christian education, but I'm also always going to call out our Christian education system for its agenda, whether it be the enemies putting it into our minds or whether it be an intentional agenda to make black and brown people feel lesser. So I really want to make that point clear, that it's not so much that the black and brown people have chosen to go to sleep, but it's easier for us to rest and not continue the fight because it's safer.
We have seen and heard the struggle of many Black Americans in our society, and even more clearly within our church. People are exhausted from having to explain and to reason their equality, to have to educate others, and to have the same outcomes repeated year after year. If these stories have shaken something within you, then good. If these stories are some of the things that you've already heard from different people, then even better. But now is the time to do something, to take a stand of sorts, to empower and move our church in a more positive and egalitarian direction. In our follow-up episode with Reggie, we're going to hear how he and his church conference are standing up against injustice even from within the walls of our church.